Hi everyone, I'm so glad you're here today. Welcome or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. As you can probably see from the title, we'll be swatching my entire fountain pen ink collection. I have all of these bottles, this beautiful sample set from Ferris Press, as well as a literal handful of samples that I really need to catalog as well. I used to have a whole set of my ink swatches in my Leuchtturm here, where I had a tiny little swatch and I would write it out. I did like it for a time, but some of the inks didn't really show up that well on the paper, and it's kind of hard to see some of the properties when the swatches are so small. So I decided that I would take it from my Leuchtturm into this color ring, which is what we'll be filling in today. I do have 6 swatches already completed. This is from my favorites video, my favorite fountain pen ink video. So if you want to see these up close and personal, definitely check out that video. I'll have it linked up above and down below. Otherwise, we will be filling in way more cards today with all of the inks that I have here. So grab your journal if you'd like to journal along with me, or maybe some of your inks if you'd like to swatch as well, and let's get into it. I'll be starting with the Ferris Press Box of Fascinations, the second version, and I'll also be using my J. Urban glass dip pen to do all of the swatching today, of course, and my coloring swatch pages. So I'll be taking those out as I need them. I just wanted to show you the Ferris Press beautiful packaging. We all know how much I love gold, and this slides off and reveals this beautiful quote, as well as a Ferris wheel and other carnival things on the front of the box, which I just love so much. And then when you open it, there is a beautiful inscription on the front as well. And then you are left with these 20 beautiful little bottles. Not all of them can fit into the frame because the box is so huge, but it goes from purple all the way through to pink, and we have a good range of colors here. So let's get swatching. I also have an old yogurt container of water over here that I'll use to clean off the dip pen in between colors, and a rag over here off to the side so that I can wipe off any excess water. I find that's the best way to do it, to keep the colors looking vibrant and make sure that they don't get too muddy. All right, we're gonna start with Grape Ice Pop. I'm also going to do something sacrilegious because the opening is too small for the pen to actually fit into it. So I'm going to dip the edge in and use that to do most of the swatching. There we go. And I'll get a little bit on the edge. There we go, our first one done. The next one is Madame Mulberry. So you can see on the bottom here, some of these are a little bit more well used than others. I'd be curious to know what colors you tend to gravitate toward, or if there's any unique colors that you tend to like. I have a really hard time using, you know, some of the brighter colors like orange and yellow, really bright greens, which might surprise you considering how bright some of my journal spreads used to be, but I don't usually tend to go for the brighter ink colors for some reason. We're gonna tip that. Madame Mulberry. This one is much more of like a muted purpley gray, which is not bad, in my opinion. So here's these two so far. No shimmer in these, just straight up beautiful colors. Next is Little Robinia, another purple color. Another one I find hard to use sometimes are the more pastel colors. I like them better when they go down initially, when they're darker and wetter, and then when they dry, sometimes they're almost too light to read, but I want to give them another shot because I used to only write in an extra fine nib. Don't ask me why, but that was my first ever fountain pen that I bought, and I thought the extra fine nib would be perfect for me, so that's the one I chose. And then when I started getting into the more shimmery ones, I realized that I wanted to be able to see more of the glitter, so I started going medium nib for everything. But it made it an issue when I wanted to try the more muted and pastel colors, because in an extra fine nib, they can be really hard to see. So I would write and it would almost look like invisible ink, or like I was trying to have a disappearing message or something, because it would go down and be like a nice medium, you know, purple, maybe on the lighter side, and then for this example anyway, and then it would dry and I would be like, where is my writing? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like some people really love pastel, so if you do, let me know if you have any tips for getting the most out of it, because the only thing I can think of really is putting it into a medium or even a broad nib, which I think would be really pretty. So here is Little Robinia. It's still drying a little bit, but it doesn't look as light as I remember it being, so maybe that's on me. But even as the ink starts to sort of wear out or start to run out along the bottom, it gets a little bit light for me, but it's still really, really pretty. All right, next one is Cream of Earl. If I'm remembering correctly, this is pretty much like a straight up gray. So we will see. Oh, it looks kind of green. I'm curious. You can tell I haven't used many of these. This one I don't think I've used. I've only swatched. Okay, this looks a lot more green than I remember it being and also expected it to be. Also having a hard time picking up ink. Try drying that off again. It's almost like a really light green to me. Interesting. See, sometimes, even though it's in my collection, it surprises me. Dip it in there. Cream of Earl. Okay, this one is definitely too light for me, but I can see the appeal. I think this would be really pretty as a paint, like just straight up like a watercolor paint, which I've seen some people use these inks for before. And I thought that was a really great way to use the ink in a different way and also use it up. I've been trying to be better with using the stuff that I have and not buying a lot of things. So I think finding new ways to use what you have is a great idea. Here's Cream of Earl. Very, 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 very light. I'm already noticing some splotches on the table here. I'm just gonna wipe those away. Okay, on to the next one. This is Blue Cotton Candy. This one, I was so disappointed. Actually, I was really, really excited for it, and the swatches online made it look a little bit brighter. But again, when I first used it, I found it was very, very muted and pastel, which again, some people really love. But I was having a really hard time justifying using it over some of my deeper, richer inks that I could both see better and get more use out of versus a very, very light blue. This one actually is not bad right now. Again, it's still wet, so I tend to like it more when it's still wet. Oh, I accidentally splotched a little there. That's okay. This one is Blue Cotton Candy. From Ferris Press. So as you can see, it looks really good in the swatch, and then when you write with it, it can look very light. I do really love that color. I just wish it kind of showed a little bit more on the page. That's okay though. So that's Blue Cotton Candy. We're going squarely into the blues now. So this is Storied Blue. They have the sticker with the initials of the color on the bottom, so even when you do take them out of the packaging, you can still remember what they are, which is very helpful because they all look the same. They all look very dark, and it's hard to distinguish between one or the other. So that's really helpful. Here's Storied Blue. Again, I'm getting a little bit more green in there than I was expecting. I believe I've used this one a little bit, but not a ton. It looks like not a lot of ink in here, but it does actually last you for a few fountain pens worth at least. So it's a great way to test out a ink that you're not 100% sure if you're committed on before buying a bigger bottle, because sometimes you think you'll really like it and then you don't, and that's perfectly fine. But then you haven't, spent $40 something on a big bottle like this that's 50 mils that it'll probably take you a lifetime to go through unless you start siphoning off some and giving it to friends. Storied blue. Yeah, this is really pretty. It's a very, stormy green blue, I think. And all of these are water-based, so you can use them as watercolors, like I mentioned before, but you also have to be careful that you don't re-wet them or spill water on them or anything like that, because then they can reconstitute and bleed or something. So here's Storied Blue. As these dry, I'm going to start putting them over here so that they are safe. Now we're going into another gray. This is one of the few shimmers in the set, and you can tell because there's all this shimmer that is stuck to the side of the bottle. It does that when it's sat there for a little while. You just kind of have to shake it a little. As you can tell, I've used this one a lot, mostly because of the shimmer, but the gray is really beautiful. It's really nice for winter, stormy skies kind of feeling. It's called April Showers, so I think that's a really good name for it. Hopefully we'll be able to see the shimmer. I'm scared to do this. Okay, good. I'm always scared I'm going to tip it a little bit too far forward and I'm just going to pour it right onto the page, which wouldn't be terrible for this, I guess. April Showers. I find it's easiest to see the shimmer in direct light. Right now it's kind of cloudy out, so we're not getting that direct sunlight just yet, but it's always easier to see the shimmer then. So here is April Showers. Next we have Stroke of Midnight. This is another shimmer. I think these are some of their original shimmers. I received this box as a Christmas gift a couple of years ago, and I don't think they sell them anymore, sadly. They're such a great idea for gifts, but they do sell the little 3-packs of inks, like their ink charger sets. So you can get 3 little ones like this, and they come in all different kinds of colors, and that way you can try out 3 different inks and it's not super expensive. The other thing I like about Ferris Wheel Press is that they are a Canadian brand and their headquarters is actually not far from me, just outside of Toronto. So it's always cool to support a local brand where you can. And how many people can say that their fountain pen ink is local? Not very many. I know that Ferris Wheel Press has had some unhappy customers, and that is unfortunate, but sometimes their shimmers are not very consistent. People will get super shimmery inks and other people will buy the exact same ink and it doesn't have nearly as much shimmer as other bottles do. I'm not sure if they've addressed that quality control, but I've been very lucky with the ones that I've purchased. I know at least one of my friends purchased an ink that I really love called Edwards Gardens, and I had a super shimmery version of that, and hers was basically completely devoid of shimmer, which was so sad. All right, this is Stroke of Midnight. These kind of colors that are deep and stark on the page and have more depth to them, I tend to be really gravitating toward. And I'm just using up the rest of the ink on here. You can already start to see a little bit of the shimmer coming through here. Oh wait, I didn't add Ferris Press on the bottom. Whoops. All right, gonna go back in. This one has gold and silver shimmer, which when I saw that, like, totally blew my mind. Ferris Wheel Press. There we go. And I'll add the rest of the ink to the swatch. There we go. All right, you can see as it's drying already, the shimmer really starting to come through. Even in that indirect light, you can see it. So pretty. Okay, we need more swatch cards. I'll grab some more here. All right, this one is completely empty. This is Edwards Gardens. It is probably still my all-time favorite. I used this swatch bottle, mini bottle, ink charger completely, and I was so in love with it. And then when my friend bought the full bottle and it was nowhere near the same, I could not bring myself to buying a full bottle, only to be potentially disappointed. So I've left that in my box, and I'm just going to leave it in there, and I don't have enough to make a swatch out of it. So it's more of a commemorative little mini bottle there. So we'll skip over Edwards Gardens and go right to Peppermint Drop. This one is a very vibrant green, if I am not mistaken, which I don't know why I haven't used it more often. Oh yeah, look at that. I think it's because it doesn't have shimmer that I usually don't reach for it. That's okay though. Yeah, you can really see the green coming through. This feels like a true sort of evergreen kind of color. This would be great for Christmas time or holidays. To me, this really feels more like a winter color as well. I'm curious, do people tend to switch their ink colors based on the season? Like, do you do that? Is that a thing? Or do you kind of just use whatever you're feeling at the time? because I've seen both where people say it's time to use my summer colors and they'll move into more of the pastels and things like that, and they'll leave the darker colors for fall and winter. We're getting a little bit of a red sheen as well. I know that this one isn't a shimmer, but it's cool to see those properties start to come out. So here's Peppermint Drop. We have Morningside Mint, the next one here. I'm gonna be honest and say that I don't like this one, but it looks like I've used it a lot because I've given samples to people from it, which is a great way to get rid of stuff you won't use and share things that you have. Swapping inks with people can be really fun and a way to grow your collection without it being expensive and without it taking up a lot of space. I'm trying to be more cognizant of how much space I have to really store all of the things that I own. Living in a smaller sized apartment really makes you think about those things. Morningside Mint. I don't know what it is. I'm a pastel girl. You know, at least I can love them from afar, but this one just doesn't do it for me. If you're a Morningside Mint fan, please don't come for me. But I just, it's just very not me. So maybe I'll just give the rest of this to someone who wants it and just send it on its way. But at least I have it in my stash and I know that it's there and what it looks like, so I don't accidentally use it one day and realize before it's too late that I don't actually like it that much. Okay, this is Sweet Honeydew. Another really, really bright green. Ooh, this one is even more like watery and pastel. Than the others. See, I really like it in the swatch, and then I go to write with it and I'm looking at it like, where is it? Like, I just wrote on it and it's so pale. Okay. Again, it's nice to have the range, but I don't really see myself using this one often, if at all. So it's here in my collection. That's the upside and the downside of having a big set like this. A big gift set is you get to try out a whole bunch, and there's not that many of each. So it's good that you get to try a whole bunch without having to spend a lot of money or use a lot of space to store it. But then you inevitably get some that you don't like as much as others, unless you're super, super lucky. And that's just, it is what it is, you know? Okay, going into another green. This is Peter Moss. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is one of Caitlin over on her channel, Caitlin Gray. This is one of her favorites. And I mean, how can this not be one of your favorites? It's such a beautiful, rich green. This is definitely more my style of green. Yeah, that's stunning. Okay. Yeah, that's just stunning. It's bright, but it's also not super in your face. It's dark enough that you can see it, but light enough that it doesn't look like it's an evergreen or that you can't see the richness of the color. Very, very pretty. I need to use this one. We're going into the more warm-toned colors now. The reason why I chose the Box of Fascinations #2 is because they did have a lot of cool toned inks, which is what I tend to gravitate toward. But there's also these ones. This is Beaver Dam Brown. It has almost like a purpley quality to it. I'm kind of waiting to find a brown that really speaks to me. I feel like it's such a polarizing color. I don't know if other people agree with that. I used to be such a big black ink person, and I feel like brown is a really nice step away from black while still having a lot of those properties. So it can be a really nice option. But it's also brown, which some people might find boring or not pretty enough to be an ink. So I'd be curious to hear if anyone has brown inks that they love, or even if their favorite ink is a brown ink. It's definitely a work safe color if you're using this at work or at school, and it's not too offensive or too much without it having to be black or like a deep navy blue. So that's always a plus, but I obviously use this stuff not for work. I use it for my hobbies. And most of my work is done on my work laptop, so it's not like I'm writing anything important. All right, this is Pumpkin Patch, a super, super vibrant orange. You can kind of see I've probably never used this besides swatching it. If it was more of a muted orange, I think I would be more open to it, but I just can't see myself using this on a regular basis. Although it is beautiful, like it's not like it's an ugly color by any means. That's also why I got this glass dip pen too, because I could use this ink for just one journal page or just one letter to a friend or to write a postcard and not have to commit to it for a long time in one of my pens. So that's definitely a plus to having a dip pen, although they can be a little bit more messy, and sometimes I'm worried about getting ink everywhere. Like if this little thing tips over, you know, it's all over. Like that's it. So got to be really cognizant of that. And sometimes you just want to pick up a pen and write. You don't want to have to get out the ink, make sure that it doesn't knock over. Sometimes I actually take these and I tape them to my desktop, because this is just like a plastic IKEA tabletop, and I tape it to the desk so that it doesn't tip over if I'm using it and going back and dipping into it multiple times to write with. That way it doesn't have a chance of falling over. I would definitely recommend that if that is also something that you're worried about. Here is Pumpkin Patch. This next one is Wonderland in Coral. This one, oh wait, whoops. This one is also shimmery. I forgot about that. It has some silver shimmer in it. This is another one that, to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed by. I was hoping it was going to be more of like a true, I don't know, like more on the pink coral side, but I find this one is much more on the orange side, and despite it being shimmery, I had a really hard time committing to it for a while in a pen. So that was a disappointment. Let's see if that holds up. You can't say it's not coral. I think I saw some swatches online earlier on and thought they looked more pink. So, yeah. It is what it is. I've been tempted to try mixing inks together, ones that I don't like, so that I could make a color that I do like, but I know that is dangerous. And can sometimes cause the inks to react in a weird way, or they can clog your pens. But I'm really tempted to try it. Maybe that's something else I can just do with my my dip pen, and just use a couple drops from each and mix it up in a little vial or something and use it one time. Because I don't really see myself using this pretty much ever as it is. Again, I can always give it away to people, give samples away. I don't really mind doing that either. If it's going to a home where someone thinks they'll love it, then I'll just have to find someone to take it off my hands. Okay, that was Wonderland in Coral. Put these away now that they've dried. We'll wipe this away. Okay, next we have Main Street Marmalade. I think this is another yellowy orange. Yep. If anybody wants these orange ones that I'll never use, let me know. Again, beautiful color. Just, you know, not something I would put in a pen. That's okay. There we go, not bad. We have Main Street Marmalade here. I kind of like it better when it's wet. A theme, I know. Okay, we're down to our last three here. This is Buttered Popcorn, which is the perfect name for this ink. Truly. It's like a perfect sunflower yellow butter kind of color. As like a watercolor paint, sure, perfect. As something I would write with in my journal, rarely, if ever. Sometimes I like to pick a color for a spread and then match my ink to it so that it looks like all one color. And I could see myself doing that with yellow. With orange, I don't have a lot of orange stuff, so that would be really tough. But with yellow, I could see myself doing like a sunflower theme or something like that, and using this ink to write in it to keep it looking really cute. Ooh, my hands are starting to get a little bit covered in ink. That's what happens. Okay, now we are into the final two, and these are the pinks. So this is Strawberry Macaron. I wanted to love this one more than I did because it is very, very pale and pastel and light. And it's very pretty. This would be perfect for like Valentine's Day or maybe like wedding invitations, maybe. Do I even have enough ink on here? Like, I can barely see that. I don't even know if it's picking up on camera. Might have better luck in a broad nib or something, but I don't know. Strawberry Macaron. Can you read that? Let me know because I barely can. Right, the final one. This is very much like a Barbie pink. It's Pink Eraser. Yeah. I'm not a huge brights person, but I do really enjoy this one, and I can see myself using it and I believe I have used it. In my pens before. And it really is pink eraser colored. It's a great name. I know that Ferris Press has more pinks in their lineup now. I think they have Sugar Beach, which is named after a beach in Toronto, which is like a really bright pink, sort of like this one. Can't remember what other ones they might have, but there's pink eraser. And that is the whole set. So I will put this away and we can get started on the last few bottles that I have. All right, we got our bottles here. Have these to the side. Take out some more swatch cards. I believe there's 100 in here, so there's room to grow, which is nice. Okay. We'll start with this Manyo ink. It's the Sakura color from Sailor. One of my wonderful coworkers gave this bottle to me, which is so thoughtful. This is another sort of bright orangey pink. It's really pretty. It's very unique as well. Like, I've never really seen an ink that still jumps off the page so much when it's dry as well. And it's very, very bright. I've heard amazing things about the Manyo ink line. So if you have any suggestions, knowing the kind of inks that I like, definitely let me know. I had to remind myself to not write Ferris Wheel Press on the bottom of this, like I have been for the last 20. This one is both pink and orange. It's so pretty. As it dries, you can see some of the orange come through and some of the pink as well. It's kind of like if I mixed, you know, Wonderland and Coral and, I don't know, maybe a little bit of Strawberry Macaron together, plus like Main Street Marmalade, something like that. Like these three together kind of make this one. Next one, actually I'll stick with the pinks since we're on that trend. This is Momiji Iroshizuku by Pilot. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. This is another super bright, super bright one. I'll just write it down here. And then I'll just use the end of the pen. It's a quicker way of getting it down. Even though I always dip the same way, it's interesting to see that some inks really latch onto the end of the pen, and I can get a lot out of one dip, and some of them are very hard to get a full swatch of. That one's still drying, so I'll move over to this one. This is 831 by Sailor. another absolutely super bright fuchsia color. I don't know. I think this, actually, it's hard to tell. I don't know which one is more of like a Barbie pink. I don't know if either of them are really considered like a true Barbie pink. I loved Barbies growing up, so it's fun to look for that perfect Barbie pink where I can. I'll let both of those dry. Those over here. We have an absolute classic, which is Oxblood by Diamine. I think they also have one called Writer's Blood too, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of creepy. This is just so rich. There we go. It can look very red or very rusty, dried blood brown. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. So this is Oxblood. Then we have two greens. We have the Robert Oster Marine and Colorverse Brain. This one I've been meaning to use in my next fountain pen fill up. Marine is such a good name for this beautiful blue-green color. Do I kind of wish I had shimmer? Yeah. Do I feel ridiculous for feeling that way? A little bit. But it's just stunning. Like, it's so pretty. Reminds me of exactly what it's named after. Marine waters and a blue lagoon. That kind of vibe. So here it is. And then we have Brain from Colorverse, where I broke the packaging by accident. This one is a glistening ink. It has, I don't know if it has green shimmer specifically. Let me see. It does not say. But it's from Colorverse, which is another one of my absolute favorite brands. Would you believe I also won this in a giveaway? I don't know what it is, but I'm very lucky on Instagram giveaways. And I've won quite a bit of stationery through there. Nope, this one first. Beautiful. This reminds me of Peter Moss a bit. I can grab it. Very, very, very similar, but this one has shimmer in it. So you can see that comparison there. Perfect. Here's Brain. It's still drying a bit, and then here it is next to Peter Moss. Very, very, very similar. Right, put that there. So that's all of the bottles that I have, the smaller bottles, and then I do have the big Colorverse boxes. I did swatch some of these already, so I won't be doing all of them. Like Mystic Mountain is one that I already have, but Pillars of Creation, which is the larger bottle, is not one that I have, so I'll be swatching this one. I've already swatched NGC 1850, but I have not swatched Extreme Deep Field. I've already swatched NGC 1850, but I haven't swatched Extreme Deep Field, which is the same ink but without shimmer as NGC 1850. And then I have already swatched Horsehead Nebula, but I do not have Crab Nebula swatched, so we'll do those. Start with Crab Nebula. This one is supposed to have a purple sheen, and it's a green ink. Might have put too much on here. See if I can spread it out a bit. All right, I'll hope for the best. You never really know how much ink you're gonna get when you dip it in. Okay, and write the name. Okay. It's a very deep, deep, deep dark green. Maybe more of the purple shimmer will show through in this swatch. My original swatch that I made on the Leuchtturm paper did not have very much purple, if any. Let that dry. We'll do Pillars of Creation next, which I believe is like the opposite. It's purple with a green sheen. Colorverse is a Korean brand, and they name everything after constellations and stars and planets and things like that after their brand's universe theme, which is really, really cool. They have some very unique and interesting inks that I don't really see anywhere else. And they usually sell them in those 2-set boxes. So you get like the little baby one and you get the big giant bottle all together, which makes them a little bit more expensive, but it's kind of cute that you can do 2 in 1. They usually put the shimmers in the smaller bottles, which makes me sad because I usually use shimmers more than the regular inks without any shimmer. But I believe they started to sell more of their shimmers as standalone bottles like this, so that's always an option. Okay, that's, oh wait, I need to write the name. What am I doing? Get it together. Okay. Pillars of Creation. Colorverse. Wow, that's wild. I know that this one is purple, but it has dried so green. That's crazy. The sheen is definitely a lot more noticeable in this swatch than in my original swatches. Wow, that's wild. This one, on the other hand, you can see it's mostly green, but the purple does really come through along the edges. It's harder, I find it's harder to see the purple sheen because the ink is already so dark, even in the writing, so you can see it more in here. That's wild. I like that. Almost lost the lid there. Okay, Pillars of Creation, Crab Nebula, and then Extreme Deep Field. This is a blue one. I think it's blue with red sheen, question mark. Let's find out. It's so dark. Oh my gosh. It goes down so thick. Like, it just looks black. Truly. I swear it is blue. It's like a dark blue though. I'm trying to get like just a little bit on this side so that we can see it a little bit better. All right, well, best of luck to us to see the properties of this ink. We have Extreme Deep Field by Colorverse. Okay, as it's drying, I'm already starting to see a lot of like the red and purpley colors and sheening. Okay, so we have Crab Nebula, Pillars of Creation. This is the green with the purple sheen, and this is the purple with the green sheen, but the green sheen is coming through like 90%. And then we have Extreme Deep Field, which looks red because the red sheen is coming through so well, but is actually a blue, deep blue base color. So pretty. If I can't have shimmer, I'll take sheening, you know? And I'll stand by that. In case you haven't seen the other video, this is what the teeny tiny baby bottles look like. This is Mystic Mountain, one of my all-time favorites. I like to keep them in their boxes because I find they're a little bit more safe. They're easier to stack and store, and I don't have to worry about them getting dusty. The bottles specifically, the boxes, can't really do much about that. Okay, so those are all the bottles that I have. I'm gonna let those dry a little bit more. And we're gonna finish it off with the samples that I have. And this little bottles. Maybe we'll start with this one. Quite a few more swatch cards. We'll start with this one. This is technically a bottle. This is Violette Pensée from J. Urban. I'm gonna pretend that I pronounced that correctly. This is a very bright, very, very bright, vibrant purple. I've never seen a more vibrant purple. I used to use this exclusively in a lot of my pens. I wish a lot of companies would offer bottles this small for ink, but wow, that is just such a bright color. Very smooth, very beautiful writer. It's a very just straight up, super bright purple, and I love it. Put that to the side with all the other bottles. Okay, what do we have here? We have Polar Glow. I believe this one is known for clogging pens, and I tried it on one of my pens and I was like, I'll be fine. No, I was not fine. It clogged my pen. So I'll only have to use it with a dip pen, unfortunately. But this one is blue, I believe with a beautiful red sheen, if I'm not mistaken. And it is from Diamine, I believe. It was part of one of their Inkvent calendars, where every day you open one of the little advent calendar windows and it has a new ink for you to try, which is such a good idea. But I'm always worried that there'll be a lot of inks that I don't like or wouldn't use, so I've never actually pulled the trigger and tried it out. But I'd be really curious if you've tried one of those Inkvent calendars and what you thought. They usually release the colors individually for you to buy after the fact too, so I think I would probably just do that. Polar Glow. Yeah, you can already start to see the red sheen come out, and I love when it sort of makes it look both purple and red, you know, purple, red, and blue. It's so gorgeous. Getting the rest of my ink off here. I have a couple of these that sort of are the blue with red sheen, but I never get tired of it. Tumbling Time Blue, which is this one. I've already swatched in my previous video, but it does something very similar. And oh, I love it. Just so much depth and interest. Even when you're writing, you can see the different shading, the different sheening. It's really nice. Okay, here's Polar Glow. It's still drying a little bit on the edges, but you can definitely see so much red and purple, but it is a blue base color. Okay, Ferris Wheel Press 3 Steamboats sample. Oops. This one was so disappointing to me. It's another one of those ones that looks like it'll hold up but ends up being really light. This reminds me of one of the ones I swatched already from Ferris Wheel Press way at the beginning. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's Blue Cotton Candy, question mark? To me, they look very, very similar. But again, beautiful color, but then when I write with it, not ideal. 3 steamboats. Okay, all right. Actually, it's not so bad. It actually looks better than I remember, so that's not too bad. Put that there. Oh, this is another sample of oxblood that someone gave me, but I've already swatched it, so I'll put it to the side. Oops, I dripped a little bit there. Okay. Then we have, oh, Vinta Cosmos. So this one, I think, is also known to clog pens. Ooh, look at all that ink dust that just came off the end there. Sometimes it gets dried up, and then when you open it, it kind of just snows down dry ink. Okay. I think this one is also a shimmer ink. Oh, see, I almost dropped it there. I need to be careful. Okay. Another deep blue. This one I'm having a hard time picking up enough ink. There we go. Ooh, shimmer. Love that. I think this is the one that also unfortunately clogged up my pen. I think this one has copper shimmer in it, if I am not mistaken. Ooh, look at that. It's already coming in. Wow. I love that. I'm so scared to put it back into one of my pens, though. Okay. Wow, I am loving this. I might need a broad nib pen just to put this one in it, because this is incredible. And more ink dust just everywhere. Okay. Wow, look at that. I see red shimmer, copper or gold shimmer, red sheening, blue ink. It's everything. Everything's in there. That's incredible. You can even see it in the writing. I love that. Definitely a showstopper. That one is very extra. Okay, this is Noodler's Apache Sunset. One that I got when I was like, wow, orange is the best. And then I was like, wait, am I ever actually going to use this? So I find this one to be extremely similar to a couple of the other oranges that we swatched already today. Noodler's Apache Sunset. One time when I was looking online for different inks to try, I don't know if it was Wonder Pens here in Toronto or another small business that had 1 liter bottles of Apache Sunset ink from Noodler's. 1 liter. That is wild. I can't even imagine trying to go through 1 liter of ink. Like, that is just crazy to me. I was so shook. I was like, I cannot believe that this exists. I mean, if you really love one color and you want to use it for the rest of your life and you write a ton, I mean, all power to you. I was just shocked that they even made it that size. Okay, this is Spearmint Diva. It is a really bright, shimmery ink. It's a very, very bright, like green, blue, sort of like marine from Robert Oster earlier, but brighter, I find. And this one has shimmer in it, so I guess my wish for wanting shimmer in marine was answered. Okay. I don't know who makes this ink. I'm gonna have to look it up later, but all I know is it's called Spearmint Diva. I believe it's also silver shimmer, which would go really well with this color. Using up some of that extra ink I have. Sometimes I have to turn the dip pen to get all the ink off of it. Okay. There's Spearmint Diva. Polar Glow has finished. Oh my god, that is crazy. It's beautiful. So much red sheening. So, Polar Glow finished drying. Vinta Cosmos just blows me away. Just beautiful. Okay, put those over to the side. And we have 3 left. If you're still here, leave a comment with the fountain pen emoji below so that I know that at least one person watched this entire thing. Okay, Vinta Inks Jewel Green. I don't even remember where this came from. I think someone gave this to me. Okay. Don't know why I'm starting with writing it. Jewel Green. Vinta Inks. Okay. And I put my finger right onto it. Okay. This is gonna take forever. That's better. This reminds me of Peppermint Drop from Ferris Press. We swatched earlier. Whoa! Oh, there's shimmer in here. Ooh. See, I didn't even know that. It looks like gold shimmer because I can see it starting with the writing. So maybe it's a good thing I started with writing by accident. Jewel Green. Love that. That's so pretty. It looks like there's some red sheening in there and maybe some gold shimmer with a green base. That is stunning. But it's by Vinta, so I don't know if I can risk putting it into a pen, but I could see how it goes. That is very pretty. It's fun to be surprised by your own stash. Okay, we have 2 blue ones left. We have Noodler's Bad Blue Heron. I think this is one of the longest samples I've had. I bought this from Goulet Pens in the States in like probably 2016. And it came as part of a sample pack that they had on their site at the time. And I think by the time I got through most of them, I started using shimmer inks and other things. And it took me so long to get through them because I was using an extra fine nib that by the time I wasn't using an extra fine nib anymore, I had already added some shimmer inks to my collection or some other ones that I thought were more interesting, so I never used this one up completely. Not yet, anyway. Okay. Noodlers. Bad Blue. Heron. Yeah, okay. I thought I just spelled it wrong, but I didn't, thankfully. Okay. So that's a beautiful, beautiful blue. I think it's just a straight up blue. I don't think there's any sheening or shimmer in here. It's very, very pretty. This is another one that I would consider to be a pretty work safe color, but still being prettier than your typical, you know, just blue ink. My hands are starting to get so covered. Okay, so here's Noodler's Bad Blue Heron. And then finally we have Sailor's Gentle Blue. I think this one was supposed to have some kind of sheening, if I'm not mistaken, but when I used it, I didn't see any sheening. But with bigger swatches, it's easier to see. It's also nice to have a writing sample though. I find some ink companies will just show you a beautiful, very, very wet swatch, so it looks like this, but then when you write with it, sometimes it looks different, and it can be hard to tell exactly what you're getting unless you also have a writing sample alongside it. So it's good to have both here on the cards so that I can see what it really looks like when I'm using it. Okay, what is this called? Gentle Blue. Blue. From Sailor. I apologize if you can hear traffic or planes going by. Okay, there we go. That is the very last swatch. Okay, and there is Gentle Blue from Sailor. Okay, see, I'm starting to see the sheen now. It's that red sheen. Okay. So you see I have a lot of these in my collection for whatever reason. Okay, let that dry. Here's my entire ink collection. If you watched this long, thank you so much for staying with me for all hour and a half that this took. I hope you enjoyed swatching with me and you got to explore some new inks and maybe some current favorites. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comments, and if you have any ideas on what video I could do next. See you in the next video. Bye.